What is up, Husker Nation? Welcome to the Big Red Nation channel here on YouTube. My name is Jason, and I know it has been actually, I think, a couple weeks now since my last episode. Just life, man, just really busy with work. Schedules are all different now, so I never really had like a free moment on time in time to get on here. And whenever I did, to be honest, I wanted to sleep. I wanted to, get laundry done, get things done around the house. Um, but anyway, uh it's not like there's been a whole lot of things going on. No, of course not. So I want to get on here on uh the bowl that is super for Sunday and get here early in the morning and just kind of, I guess you could call this a catch-up show. Just kind of go over all the different things. We're going to talk about the new coaches. We're going to talk about all the new players that have come in. Via portal and recruiting, because we did add on at least one more player on the February date. We'll get into that. We're going to talk about things that have happened since the last show, and that includes the new national champion. We're going to talk about Indiana. We're going to talk about men's basketball and all the, if you want to call it ups and downs since my last show. We're going to talk about many different things as well. So let's go ahead. Let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Let's start off with just kind of the obvious thing. The new coaches, the new players, all that kind of the newness that will be Husker football for this 2026 season. Because guys, we're what? Today's the 8th of February. We're now, what was it, 12? My math's bad, man. It's so early in the morning. Spring ball starts on the 21st, I believe, of this month. So we're going to start jumping. We only have a couple weeks here, and then we're going to start jumping right into getting brand new news, brand new intel, if you will, if you even want to call it that, on what this team's going to look like. We're going to have clearly a new defense, right? A new defensive scheme. We've got a lot of new coaches on that side of the ball. On the offensive side, from looking at the players that we've brought in and the style of quarterback that we have brought in, I would say it's fairly safe to say our offense is going to look a little different. I think our offense is going to look a lot more like Matt Rule's offense did whenever he was at Baylor. Because you look at Calandria, and I'll kind of get off on this little sidebar here just because it's already in my head. But you look at Calandria, and he reminds me a lot of the style of quarterback that Matt Rule had at Baylor. And this guy's going to be able to do that. He can run just as well as he can throw. Is he a gunslinger? Yes. You'd like to hope that, because I know a lot of people are talking about, well, he's interception prone, throws a lot of interceptions. His touchdown to interception ratio for his career is not good. But again, that's really front loaded with this time in Virginia. His year at UNLV, it got much, much better. Still, it's still a good amount of interceptions. I think he threw 9. I think it was 28 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. But the ratio is better. On top of that, that's not accounting for his running touchdowns. And I believe in his career, he only has 8 fumbles, I believe. It's been a while since I've looked that up, but I remember hearing it might have been on the Common Fan podcast, and Evan Bland was on there, and he brought up that stat. But anyway, what I'm hoping for is the fact that we're getting this guy, Calandria, at a much more mature part of his life and a much more mature part of his career. I think he's much more seasoned. And maybe he's finally learned through the 3 years and all the different coaches, the different offenses that he's been in through Virginia and UNLV, that he's understood the game better. And he's understood when to take his shots. He's understanding how to read defenses. We're not getting him as a freshman, sophomore, or even a non-experienced junior, if you will. Okay. So my belief is, because again, maybe I'm just too optimistic of a fan sometimes, but I like I prefer to believe that we're getting a guy that is getting better. He's going to develop. Okay. I'm not going to be a fan that's going to sit here and look at every other team in the country and say, well, they're clearly going to get better. They're 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 going to get better. And then look at my own team and say, well, we're shit and we're not going to get better. Why? Why would I believe that we're ever going to get better? I'd rather be proven wrong throughout the season than take the whole off season and continue to also just constantly be negative and in the dumps about this team. You know, the off season is the time to be optimistic. That's the time. That's a perfect time because guess what? Week after week, you're still undefeated during the off season. So might as well enjoy it while you can. So I'm very excited for the spring ball coming up because I can't wait to see what this offense is going to look like. And yes, no, are we going to get to see the full blown offense? Obviously not. And the spring game's, a little ways away, but some reporters are going to at least be able to tell what this offense might kind of look like. They're going to get intel from their sources inside the program on what this offense is, how it's running, like the style. I don't really care about how well it's running. I'm very curious to see what style. Is it excuse me, is it going to be way more RPO based? Is it going to be a little option like a spread option style? Is it going to be a little more running gun? Is it going to be a little more spread? Or is it going to be Matt Rule still stepping in and saying, no, this is the type of offense we're going to run. It's going to be a slow offense. It's going to be a controlling offense. He's going to get up under center. He's going to hand the ball off. I'm very curious to see what we're going to see here. But anyway, some of the new coaches, excuse me. Anyway, Midwest weather, guys. I think everybody probably deals with it, just constant, just drainage. But anyway, some of the new coaches. Let's start off with the newest. Well, I guess maybe not the brand newest, but pretty close to our special teams coordinators. Which the guy that left, I'll get into that here in a second after I'm done talking about all the new coaches and all the new players. It is a kind of a co-coordinator position now with former Husker and former NFL player Brett Maher, co-coordinating this with Zach Montgomery. I don't know why I just blanked on his name. I know it's Montgomery. Anyway, who was kind of a mentee under Mike Ekeler, played for Mike Ekeler in Tennessee and also then coached under Ekeler at Tennessee and here at Nebraska. So you got Montgomery that kind of really developed and learned how to coach special teams under Ekeler. He knows all the ins and outs. He kind of knows that same process that he does. Then you have Brett Maher, obviously former Husker, a very good former Husker. A lot of people kind of forget about kind of actually how good he was because of Alex Henry, who was right before him. It's kind of easy to always remember how good Alex Henry was because he was insanely outstanding. But Brett did a lot of the same things. He both kicked and punted and was also very good in all conference and went on and had a much better NFL career than Alex Henry did. So if there's anybody that's going to be able to teach these specialists, these punters and the kickers, how to punt and kick inside that stadium and with those type of conditions, sometimes that Memorial Stadium can give with the different wind and everything else, it's Brett. Now, I think Brett's kind of more the head guy. It kind of seems like that. And then kind of like the assistant co-coordinator is going to be Montgomery. Again, I'm not too worried. A lot of people are going crazy over this. And yes, look, at the end of the day, do I want Mike Ekeler gone? No. He clearly changed this special teams program. And at least for the first half of the season, just like the rest of the team, was way better than how the end of the year looked with their special teams, right? Kenneth Williams, after he ran it back for a touchdown, kind of disappeared. In fact, it was Ja'Cory Barney in the bowl game that kept running kickoffs out. And again, bad coaching, if you ask me, kept letting them run it out and setting up our true freshman quarterback who was coming off of an injury, playing against a okay defense, but still a good defense, but setting him up at the 11, at the 14, at the 15-yard line. That's not playing complementary football. And that's what special teams is supposed to do. It's supposed to set up success for your offense. Or, depending on what, setting up your defense for success. Right? Punting the ball correctly and getting it pinned down deep. I think after like the first handful of games, I don't necessarily think Archie was punting that great. I mean, obviously not getting it blocked, which is good. Don't get me wrong. And then his punts were just absolutely garbage. He had a couple that were, but it's not like he was booming the ball down. About a 30 to 40-yard average on his punts. It kind of felt like. But again, I'm not trying to say that Mike Ekeler was, falling off at the end of the year. I think the whole team was. But at the same time, what I'm saying is Mike Ekeler's not like the special unicorn of a special teams coordinator that always has his players playing amazingly. Sometimes things just happen. Sometimes things work out. Sometimes things don't. And like what I mentioned with why I'm not worried too is you look back at just Matt Rule's career. It's not like he's always had like these bad special teams. He did whenever he came here, and I think it was mainly because what was established before. Because whenever under Frost, it was garbage. The special teams was so bad. And I think whenever he first got here, again, I think one of the biggest, and I think if you could get Matt Rule off the record, sitting down, right, and just to be brutally honest, I think if he had a choice to redo his first year here at Nebraska, I think he would have said, I would have flipped this team a lot bigger. I think hands down, he would tell you that he would have flipped this team, this whole roster, much more than he did. Unfortunately, him not coming from another college football program, it still would have been kind of tough. He wouldn't have been bringing in people that he trusted. But I think the scheme would have been a lot bigger, would have been a lot different. I think he maybe would have gone after assistants that did have ties to several different programs and players that they could have trusted and brought in. But anyway, back to special teams. Going to get way off on another tangent, but back to special teams and I just think Ed Foley wasn't that good of a coach. I think if we had a bunch of established good specialists here already, I think Ed Foley would have been fine because Ed Foley has done special teams for Matt Rule, and they were fine before, like at Temple. But he's never had like these insanely terrible special teams before. So outside of the 2 years where they were really the 1 year that they were really, really bad under Ed Foley, I believe that the special teams will be fine because I think last year they got the right people in, they got the right specialists in, and now it's the new special teams coordinators will be just fine. Like I think Matt Rule understands the importance of special teams and knows what's going on. I just think he believed more in Ed Foley being able to flip it himself by coaching rather than getting the right players in. And now I think they went ahead and got the right players in, and then you just go forward with how this is going to go. Okay, like Archie, Cunanan, trying to think here, Ja'Cory, any kind of returner that we might have, they're still here. They're not all of a sudden going to get bad at what they do, right? Keenan Cook, the holder, it's good, right? They went and got probably the best long snapper in this portal class. They're not just all of a sudden going to forget how to do things. Okay. So I'm not worried about special teams like a lot of other people are. Of course, would I have liked, again, Ekeler to be here still? Of course. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to worry about it. Again, I think I mentioned this on my last episode, but we do have a defensive line coach, Corey Brown. And then, of course, we have now a new safeties coach. Well, we had a safeties coach in Miles Taylor, and all sense and purposes, looked like he was going to be a very good one. But a month later, now he is gone, and he's headed to the Baltimore Ravens, and I think we replace him with just as good of a coach, Tyler Yelk, coming here from the Philadelphia Eagles, previously of South Dakota State, coached there with Ork, and I think played there as well. I believe is what I read. Hey, the Philadelphia Eagles secondary has been pretty good. I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was just like an assistant. I'm not sure. Um, but yeah, so we got some new guys on the defense. There's some of the new coaches, and of course, then of course you got Lonnie Teasley and Jeep Wade, and obviously we've got a bunch of different ones. But as far as what's happened since my last show, those are some of the new ones. And then of course the new players. You know, let's actually. I wasn't going to pull this up, but I guess I'll go ahead and pull this up. Um, oh, oh, all right. I know this is great dead air right here. All right. Let me see. Make sure. Oh yeah, look at that ad. All right. Sorry about that, guys. All right. So we look at our it's the 27 class. We're already ready to move on. Yeah, of course we are. By the way, the 27 class is going to be, I think, one of the best right now. It's ranked seventh nationally, and it looks like we're just going to keep moving with some really good players in that one. All right, so of course, we've already had Danny Odom, Claude, and Puma, but here's the newest one right here. This is a pretty big get, guys. Dylan Berryman. We beat out Kentucky, and from all the reports, Tim Vergeese was saying like the night before the his commitment, like Kentucky came in hard at the very end, and Nebraska really, really came in harder and put up the money and brought him in. This dude, 6'1.5", 330 pounds. This is a man. This is a man child right here. This is a 4-star. He was the best top ranked player in this recruiting class available that was still available for this February signing day. He's the 26th ranked in his position, 9 best ranked in the state, and nationally he was the 250th player. So he's a top 300 player. I believe. Let's see if they have any of the. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So and then you got the transfers. So again, I don't think there were any new transfers since the last episode, but we'll just go ahead and go back over these real quick. I think what they did with the offensive line is phenomenal. We got in guys like Brandon Black. We got guys in from San Diego State, Owen Chambliss, of course, Calandria, Tree Babalade, Tree Babalade. Got Anthony Jones on the defense, Paul Mbanga, Jashir Whittington, Dwayne McDougal, Quasi Gilmer, who I think this is going to be again, this wasn't a pickup of need, right? So I think our wide receiver core, I think it's very, very deep. I don't think, and it's also very talented. I do not think we needed to go get a wide receiver. This is one of those but it's a cherry on top, right? This was wow, we had a chance to go get this guy, and then we did. He was UCLA's top receiver last year, and I think I think he's going to come in and play very well. I think he's going to have kind of the year that Nazir Hunter had. And then I think Hunter's only going to get better this year as well. Will Hawthorne with some depth there. Victor Evans III, Jason Shiggs, Owen Stoudemire at the defensive line. I think he's going to be a big, as long as he gets healthy. I think he was dealing kind of with an injury last year. But again, 6'1", 292, another bigger guy, but somebody that they could plug in the middle. The returning Danny Dines, Daniel Kalen, Dexter Foster, and then there's the long snapper, Jack Wills. So, again, I think overall, a lot of good pickups. From what I can tell, I think you're going to be able to see guys like Danny Odom, Dylan Berryman. And then here's my I've heard a lot of good things too about Luke Sorensen. I think there's a lot of big plans that you will see him too this season. But right here, Jamal Rule, the running back, during bowl practices, I'll go ahead and stop sharing now. During bowl practices, all these guys are here early, and apparently, Steven Sipple is not somebody that usually will just glow about, especially like first year players, because he just doesn't believe like first year players should really ever play. But he glowed about Jamal Rule as far as his size. He didn't realize that Jamal Rule had such a good body to him. And he's like, man, whenever I first saw him, I didn't realize he was the true freshman running back. I thought he was somebody else that they just brought in. Then somebody pointed out that it was Jamal Rule, and he was like, okay, he could. So now he's even on kind of the Jamal Rule train of this guy could be playing early. And you know what? Maybe that's why they didn't really go out and get a running back. Maybe they believe in Jamal Rule. They know what they have in Mekhi Nelson, and they know Isaiah Mosley's going to be that kind of scat back, Tank Dell, Tavon Austin style player for Nebraska in this offense with Dana Holgorsen. So, again, with the whole running back thing, would I have liked to have seen him go out and get like a Chalmar Brown? Hell yeah. Would I have liked to have seen him go out there and get a Cam Edwards? Yes. No doubt. Would I would much rather see them go out and pay the money and bring in a guy that's very obviously going to the NFL? Yes. But at the end of the day, they want to allot their money where they want to allot their money. They focused on that offensive line big time. And if that's the case, and, the offensive line, getting the offensive line better is going to cure a lot of ailments. It just will. Both at running back, at quarterback, everything. The whole offense is going to run different with a better offensive line. So that's something clearly that they did. They brought in 2 new coaches, and I think both of these offensive line coaches are better than Donovan Raiola. So you have 2 better coaches now. I think it's just going to make this offensive line even better. I just really do. I have big hopes and belief that this offensive line is going to get better. Which brings me to my next topic. This season we kind of had back-to-back things that happen in here, and we hear this stuff kind of be talked about quite often. It's we want people that want to be here, right? And fans say it all the time. We want guys that want to be at Nebraska. We want guys that want to come play for Nebraska, not come play at Nebraska. I know I've said that for a very long time. Excuse me. That cranium. Whew. Anyway, and I think myself, along with a lot of other Nebraska fans, especially Nebraska fans that live in Nebraska. Now, yes, I don't currently live in Nebraska, but I was born there. Like I mentioned before, my both sides of my family outside of like my current family, like my core family, and uh, one other group of family, they all live still in Nebraska, right? So, like, Nebraska is home. Like, I will always call Nebraska home. I will always call Lincoln home, even though I've lived in Lincoln since 1988. But I'm literally there all the time. Um, Not so much here these last couple years, but now that I've, much more busier work and my own family and kids, which makes it a little bit harder to travel because they were so young. Um, but growing up, like, we were there every Christmas, summer. Sometimes we try to get up there for Easter. Like, we were there all the time. And then whenever we moved from Texas to Missouri, I mean, we're up there every handful of months. So um, we go back all the time. I mean, we went, there was a string where I was back there for spring games like 4 years in a row, 5 years in a row, something like that. Love getting back for the spring game. Um, we've been to games all over the place, but anyway, enough of the background talk. Um, but my point is, especially whenever, like, you're not just happen to be a fan because you lived in California and you knew a buddy that also liked Nebraska while they were good, and you got hooked on as a fan or something. Um, the people that really feel like you are Nebraskans really want people to want to come and love this program, love the state, love the city of Lincoln, and make it their home. I don't know why that is, but you get that sentiment from a lot of people, and I always have that sentiment of like, I want people to come to Nebraska and fall in love with Nebraska and make that their whole thing. Um, I know that's becoming less and less of a thing in college sports, so I'm not expecting it as much. Um, but there's a certain type of people, and that I still would like to semi expect it from. And of course, you got this season just kind of brought it heck. 'Cause, we kind of seen it before a little bit. Um, but it's the whole don't come here to Nebraska as a player or a coach. And I think people kind of know where I'm going with this and say, this is where you want to be. You are now where you want to be. You want to change this program. You want to make it better. You want to get it back on track and then leave. Now, with the Dylan situation, I definitely feel way more to the point that I think Matt Rule kind of pushed him out the door. But part of the reason why I think Matt Rule pushed him out the door isn't necessarily because, Dylan forced him basically to play a style of football that Matt's not used to and doesn't really want to do. But knows that that's the only way that, you're not going to win with Dylan running a bunch of RPOs and running Dylan, right? You're going to play more of a pro style and all this different stuff. But I think after 2 seasons, because here's one person I do believe wholeheartedly that wants to make this program great again, wants to highlight the city and the state of Nebraska, the city of Lincoln and the state of Nebraska, wants to do nothing like that's if he only does this one last thing in his career, and that's to get Nebraska back to being a powerhouse, he'll be happy and he will retire here. And that is Matt Rule. I wholeheartedly believe him whenever he says those things. And I think both these dealing with both these people, Mike Eckler and Dylan Raiola, I think you can tell that it hurts his heart because the way he's handled those situations has been a little odd. Especially the Eckler one. Whenever he's talked about Eckler and this whole situation, it comes off very petty. And I think it's because his feelings have been hurt. He thought he was bringing in a coach who was from a small town here in Nebraska, right? Has already coached here before, told him, this is where I want to be. This is where I want to kind of like be for a while. I want to be back home, be closer to my parents, do this, and this. And then midway through the season, he slides him a piece of paper, says, "Hey, I'm going to make you now the highest paid special teams coordinator in the country. Here's an extension and a raise." And Eckler didn't sign it. And then all of a sudden, here it is. Really oddly, out of nowhere, or some rumblings that USC is going after him. And then all of a sudden, boom. Yeah, no, they got him. And now Eckler's going to USC. You couldn't get more further away from the place you said you wanted to be for a while. And I think he went, what the hell, man? I thought we were in this together. I thought I finally found a coach that felt a way about this place that I did. And you're for a year and you're gone. And I think he felt the same thing with Dylan. I think at first, he was kind of like trying to play the cool, like the cool dad, like, I get it, man. I know college football is different now. I know you're just out there kind of, you got to see what you're worth. Okay, well, you find that out, and then I'm gonna help you get what you're worth. And then the season 2 came around, and the same shit happened. And then he got hurt. And then I think that's whenever things got even more intense with trying to find his way out. And maybe it wasn't just Dylan, maybe it was more Dominic. I don't know. Depending on who you hear talk about this situation, the innuendo is kind of more that it was more Dominic. And I think he finally went, you know what? No, I'm wiping my hands clean. We want the whole Raiola family out of this program. You made me do this whole package deal, which, by the way, clearly it is. It was a package deal. If you're going to have Dylan, you got to sign Dayton. So that's another little bit of evidence that leads me to believe, too, it was more Dom, which is also very disappointing. Disappointing to see somebody like Scott Frost basically never put in the work. And now you got another Hall of Fame, Ring of Honor up in a stadium, Dominic Raiola, maybe the second best center to ever play at Nebraska behind Dave Remington, kind of pulled this shit at his alma mater. It's very disappointing. All that's very disappointing. And then at the same time, they leave. It is what it is at the end of the day. I said, do I almost think that this program is going to be in a better situation without Dylan? Yeah, maybe. I think there's a possibility of that. So it's not like I'm super mad that he left, but acknowledge it. This isn't just some other kid that's leaving. I mean, we had walk-ons that never set foot on the damn field. Whenever they put themselves in the transfer portal, which is obviously, sure, of course you're putting yourself in a transfer portal. If you've never set foot on the field, of course you want to go play. That's fine, whatever. This is new college football. Put up messages saying, thank you, Nebraska. Thank you, coaches. Thank you, program. Thank you, everybody, for giving me a chance. And now I'm going to go try to I'm going to push my luck somewhere else. But the 5-star quarterback that said he wanted to come here and take this program that he loves so much and make it better. But all he ever did during every offseason is look to find his way out. Wanted to make sure he took so much money from this program that it affected their ability to maybe get some other high-profile players. And then gets hurt and then takes his ball and leaves. You can't scrum up 10 minutes. You go ahead. Dylan, you could have done just the same kind of message you did whenever you first got here. And then it's use AI to write up some stupid fucking poem to get out. That's all you had to do. And again, it's not the specific instance. It's, it's kind of one of those moments of like, if you're going to tell me how much you love this place, it shows me more whenever you leave because we can all understand why you would leave. And that's for anybody. I'm not talking about anybody specific, just the general you, the royal you, right? I get it. Things happen. People move jobs all the time, even jobs that they said that they love, but here's an opportunity that I just can't pass up. Yes, I love this place, but this other job is going to give me about $5,000 more a year and a little bit more of a better uh, home work life balance. So I've got to take it. Even though I love this boss might not be as good. He might be a little bit more of a harder, guy to deal with, but there's these things, these intangibles that sometimes you need in life. So I don't hate whenever people leave. I get it. There's just a proper way to do it, right? There's a respectful way to do it. And I don't believe either one did it. And, it's just kind of disappointing. So that's my rant on that. I'm not going to rant any longer. I ranted way too long on that. All right. All right. Let's bounce back from let's bounce back from all that ranting to um um some optimism, right? Let's do some optimism. Um well, yeah. So a lot of people looked at the schedule for next year. And of course, even after it came out, a lot of them are still saying, "Oof, this is tough. We'll be lucky to win 3 to 4 games." Blah blah blah. And again, this kind of goes into the whole of like, I'll never understand why Nebraska fans will look at other teams and constantly say, "Well, they're going to get better. They're clearly not going to take a step back." Even though now we have a couple years in a row of evidence saying that, yes, especially with transfer portal, teams go up and down, like it's all over the place, right? But then look at Nebraska and say, they're, I mean, we even brought in like we're clearly changing a lot of things here, and it could be for the better. I'm not going to say with the whole like full certainty that it's definitely going to be for the better, but I think it could be. In fact, I'm very optimistic that it will be. And there's no way. I don't think there's any way in the world we're only going to win like 4 games. First of all, first 3 games, Ohio, Bowling Green, and North Dakota. Yes, those are 3 teams. Those are 3 wins right off the bat. Okay. Everybody's back on the train of like Pat Fitzgerald is this insanely amazing coach. Go back to his last 3 or 4 years at Northwestern. He only had 1 winning season before he got booted. Okay. I don't name me anybody on that Michigan State team besides Kenneth Williams because that's where he went. And if you're going to say that Kenneth Williams could go there and be a difference maker as a running back or anything, but then think that there's no way he could have helped our running back room, then again, I can't help you. That's just dumb logic to me. I don't think he would have been a good running back here. I think he was obviously a very good kick returner. I mean, maybe he'll make a difference there, especially with LeVar Woods now being there. But who's their quarterback? Can you name me their quarterback? Because if you can't at least name me who their starting quarterback is going to be, then why do you think that's almost like a 50-50 game? No, I'm going to call that one as of now. I have that, not a guaranteed win, but I put us on the higher percentage of that being a win. right? Like a 70-30, 60-40. Um, and I'd have to bring up the schedule, but games like Maryland, games like Illinois, uh, Iowa, um, Washington, all those kind of games. A lot of people are like, well, lost, 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 lost. Why? Why are you just saying those are losses now? Again, Illinois, they lost a lot of guys, including their starting quarterback. They lost their defensive coordinator. Now, I'm not saying that guarantees Illinois is going to be garbage. But again, all these different teams are dealing with these things that we're dealing with. But our fans want to look at our team and say, well, this is going to be a shit year. Meanwhile, looking at all these other teams that are dealing with the exact same things that we're dealing with and going, they're going to get better. They're probably going to be better than us. Why? I mean, they could, but it's February 8th. We have no clue. So why sit here and like talk about it like it's gospel that there's no chance. There's no chance. Oh, we should just no, give up. Let's not even play next season. Let's wait until the next season where it's a little bit different. Give us like a whole year to prepare. I just don't understand it. And I have reason to be optimistic. Number one, I don't think that schedule, whenever it came out, the way it fell, I don't think it's as bad of a schedule as everybody was very worried about. Yes, it's going to be tough back-to-back of Oregon, Indiana, and it's going to be tough back-to-back to beat Ohio State to Iowa. Those will be two tough stretches, no doubt. Everything else in between is very winnable. It's very winnable. We could start off 5-0. We could start off 5-0, just like we've done every year. Basically, we always start off like 4-0, 4-1, 5-1, 5-0, 6-1, 6-2, and then we just kind of like plummet there in November. But, hopefully one of these years that will be different. Now, does this schedule set up another one of those type of seasons? It does. It definitely does. Again, I'm not sitting here saying that this schedule is now easy the way it fell out. No, but it's way more manageable to where let's say we have 4 losses, like the definite 4 losses that you can go, oh, these are going to be tough. And these are the 4 losses I see as almost guaranteed. That would be Indiana, Oregon, Ohio State, because I don't think those teams are getting worse by any chance. Like, definitely not, especially since Oregon has Dante Moore coming back. Okay. Ohio State's got pretty much everybody coming back. And then Indiana just reloaded. I mean, we'll see. Okay. They're still losing a lot of guys as well, but they're keeping all their coaches. They've got a system, I think, really put in place now. So I do believe Indiana is going to continue to be a powerhouse, a top 5, top 10 team. Again, we already know Ohio State will, and Oregon will. So those 3 teams for sure, I think, are guaranteed losses. Due to where it's at, I'm not necessarily optimistic about the Iowa game, only because you're coming right off of Ohio State. You're coming off of Ohio State in a short week on a Black Friday, and we're going to Iowa again. So I don't think Iowa's going to be as good as they were, and I don't even necessarily think they were that great this year. I think they were still kind of the same old Iowa. I just think the bottom fell out in Nebraska's season for whatever reason. If this was like, and again, we keep going over this, if Dylan didn't get hurt, but it's true. I think if Dylan didn't get hurt and we kind of kept going, we would have won that USC game. We would have gone on then the next week to beat UCLA. The Penn State game, I don't know. That's up in the air. But that's a much different outlook on the rest of the season. So I don't think we play that bad as we did against Iowa if, this season just falls out differently. I think that Iowa game was an anomaly in the series of our games against Iowa. So I think, of course, it's going to be a probably close, tough game again next season. But I could see a situation where due to playing Ohio State, who knows where we're at in the season on our record and everything else, but playing Ohio State probably, you know, I don't know. I just don't know how that game's going to go. Obviously, we're probably going to get blown out or whatever, but then turn back around on short week and play Iowa. That's going to be tough. That is going to be very tough. So let's say those 4 games are definitely losses. You're still 8-4. If you just take care of business in every other game. Now, let's say, again, you lose to something like either Washington or Illinois. Yes, now you're back to 7-5. Same kind of season. And I think that is very possible. I do think that is a very possible record for next year, 7-5. But I don't think we're going to be 4-7 or 4-8 and whatever. No, I don't think we're going to be that bad. I think our team next year will actually have a lot of optimism to be better. I think we're going to have number one, if we are changing a lot in our offense, and then obviously we know our defense is changing a little bit. Now all of a sudden, these teams don't have a whole lot of film on us. We might be able to come in and sneak up on some people before there's a lot of film on us, and maybe surprise some people. Maybe one of those games like Indiana, Oregon, Ohio State, maybe we trip them up. I think it would have to be a home game. Whoever we play at home, that we could trip up one of those first 2 early games of Indiana, Oregon. But, it's possible. Again, our offense can be very different. I think we still have a lot of weapons. And then our offensive line, I really wholeheartedly believe, is going to be better. I think we got in much better players. And then you keep on the 2 that were good, Elijah Pritchett and Justin Evans. And then you got, again, Brandon Black, Paul Mbenga, and Tree Babalade. Big boys, have a lot of experience, older guys. And I just think as long as they get them in and they get gelled and they get going, man, and then your backups are still going to be a Gunnar Gatula, who hopefully will move into guard. Hopefully they develop guys, because Jeep, at least Jeep Wade that we know of, is kind of known for developing guys. Maybe he develops a Grant Bricks into something, a Gibson Pyle into something, a Brock Knuston, a Tyler Kanak, Sam Sledge. Maybe these guys finally get kind of developed into the guys that we thought we were getting in the first place. But yeah, like but yeah, I just feel very optimistic. And then on the defensive side, you know why I'm optimistic? It's because what Bob Orich did at San Diego State. Yes, it was done at a much different level. I get that. But if you can take a team that was so bad and make him so good at defense, so bad to so good that he did in 1 year, yeah, I'm very excited about that. Very excited about that, because there's more to that than just the X's and O's part, right? X's and O's part goes a lot into it. But it's kind of the same reason why a lot of people are mad that Eckler left, right? There's that tangible of the personality, what you bring out of your players. And I think he probably has that, because that's how you get people to buy in so quickly and make such a drastic jump and change in who they are as players and what they are able to do on the field. So, again, without really knowing anything, I'll have more insight on exactly X's and O's wise, and a little more detailed, again, analysis on why, probably after spring ball, once we kind of see some things and we hear about different actual X's and O's from these coaches and players. But just kind of previewing that's kind of why I feel so optimistic about next season. I think next season could be one of those years where we kind of surprise some people. Again, not to the level of like saying Indiana or whatever, but I think all of a sudden, whoa, They're a little different. They play a little different. Matt Rule maybe he's coaching a little different. Um, you know, the coordinators are out there doing little more different things. I don't know. I hope so. I really do. Um, there's players out there that are clearly buying in. Um, because then you look at that 27 class, the Trey Taylor, Tay Ellis, um, Matt Erickson. You look at some of the guys that Jeep Wade's going after. I mean, he's going after some of the top offensive linemen in the country. Ahmad Hudson. I mean, it just feels like Ahmad Hudson just could pick any day and he'll choose Nebraska all of a sudden. That's how it feels. And he's easily like one of the top players in the whole country out of any position, that alone tied in. There's definitely a lot of players that are believing. I can't wait to see what this team's going to do. I know a lot of people are like, man, we're not so optimistic about next year. Nobody's really excited for next season. I am. I'm excited for it because I'm always excited to see if my team's going to finally get better, to see if this team is finally going to turn the corner and get over the hump, all the cliches, right? That's what I want to see. And one of these years, it's finally going to happen. It has to. Maybe I'm just being way too naive and I keep lying to myself. I don't know. I don't care though. All right, this is the time to be happy because there's nothing that's going to come back to me and make me mad. All right, I'm not going to go see a guy, throw 7 interceptions in a game right now. So now's the time to be optimistic. Now's the time to have some fun. All right. So that's football off season. Let's talk some men's basketball because what a season, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously tough losses, right? You got the Michigan game and the Illinois game are 2 losses. Yesterday, we came out, just kind of whoop Rutgers a little bit. That was good. That was a good see. That was a good win to see coming off of those 2 losses. I don't want to get too much into the 2 losses, but my view on those though, you go to Michigan, right? So you're at Michigan, who are clearly like, 1 or 2 best teams in college basketball. You go to Michigan, you're down Frager with an ankle, you're down rank due to illness. You're 2 of your top scorers and 2 of your best players. And you go and you basically control that whole game. That is, to me, not a loss. That was a win. That was a win. And we could have actually had a literal win. But, especially in football, yes, you can say refs kind of maybe made themselves too relevant in the game. But in football, unless it's one specific call, it's very difficult for the rest to basically win you or lose you a game. In basketball, it's a little different. I do believe refs can kind of change an outcome in the game, and we kind of know that because there's been, gambling, scandals. Couldn't think of the word there. Scandals in NBA with referees being a part of that, affecting the games. And I have never seen a game being decided by the refs in a more egregious way than in that Michigan game. I remember at one point, the broadcast, which was an insanely terrible broadcast, by the way, on many fronts, the video quality, the non-replays. You have a top 5 game, number 5 versus number 3 in the country, or 5 versus 2, or whatever it was at the time, and you don't even have an actual studio halftime show. Nothing. Come on, Peacock. Usually Peacock's pretty good This was god awful. And then, like I said, the commentary was just garbage. You had a former Michigan player that's not that far removed calling the game, making excuses for everything for Michigan. And then, like I said, the refereeing, at one point they put up a thing on the broadcast, a little sign on the bottom saying, Michigan's on a 9-2 run. I went, I mean, I guess if you want to call it that, but all 9 of those points came from free throws. Like, it's not like they're just like knocking shots. But like, and I can't even remember the stat now, but it was like in the last like 5 minutes of the game, Michigan shot was like 11 or 12 something free throws, and Nebraska shot 2 or something like that. It was insane. And the whole thing of like, well, Nebraska just doesn't play the style of basketball that draws a lot of fouls, and Michigan kept driving to the hoop. Yeah, we get that, but it doesn't mean you just call fouls every time that they're driving to the basket just because. There's so many phantom calls or just like bullshit calls, and then not to call that charge that Sam drew, because yes, that was a charge, which was the explanation point, won Michigan the game. Like, come on. I mean, and right before that, Jamarcus is going down and driving to the basket because we just got a turnover. They go and hit the ball. Like, that was a foul. He like hacked the crap out of him. That game wholeheartedly definitely was lost because of the refs. Period. Like, there was nothing in that moment that you could say, well, you just got to play beyond the reffing. How? Whenever the game was close and the minutes were ticking away, the refs took over the game and kept putting Michigan on the line. And the way that they were calling the fouls, okay, because not all the fouls were going into the lane. A lot of them were because now they call so many fouls on Nebraska, they couldn't do anything, couldn't get close to them without them calling a foul, even if they're dribbling the ball down the court or whatever the case could have been. And they kept sending them the line to shoot bonus. Okay, so that even had nothing to do with Michigan's style of play of getting into the lane and going to the glass. But anyway, so that one, very easy to kind of go, that sucked. I'm very mad at the refs. I'm very mad at the Big Ten, but we proved that we belong in the top 3, top 5 conversation as a number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. Then we played Illinois. Prager was back, played his ass off. Rank was back, just wasn't himself. But we just proved a couple nights before that we can still play with a much better team without either one of those guys. We had one that was back playing just as good, if not better, than he has in a long time. And the other one, Rank was definitely not himself. That performance was a little more disappointing. Just couldn't get going. The first half they played well. It looked like in the second half they either started kind of feeling it and tired and worn out after playing those 2 games back to back like that. And combination of that and Illinois just kind of hitting all their shots. And it just kind of, I don't know, the defense didn't seem as crisp and as aggressive as it usually does. So that was a little kind of disappointing. But again, there's no shame, especially in the game of basketball, to lose while you're down 2 people on the road with basically a kind of a reffing situation. We'll call it that, against Michigan. And then losing to a team that you're playing for the second time, who hasn't lost since they lost to you previously. So neither one of these losses are necessarily bad losses. But again, you need to prove that by going to a team like Rutgers and handling business like a top. And I think they did that. They're in the very last minute and a half. They kind of let Rutgers kind of come back all of a sudden. I think they kind of lost track of being killer instinct and getting out of there, and they were a little more concentrated on getting what's his name, Biles or Bill, whatever his name is, a shot. Like it kind of seemed like they were more concentrated on like getting him points at the beginning of the game rather than getting out of there and taking that lead. But but yeah, men's basketball guys, we got Purdue on Tuesday night. It's gonna be a huge game. Cannot wait to watch that one. Gotta win that game too. You know, you just lost to two teams in the top 10. You cannot lose this third one. And I know like Purdue's like just outside of it, but you can't lose this game. You gotta beat Purdue. And then after you beat Purdue, I mean, the rest of the season, very manageable, winnable games. Win out. Try to win out. So men's basketball, cannot wait to see where we land. I really hope wherever they do land seated wise, it's here in St. Louis. I want to go watch them. That'd be great. Cannot wait. Of course, like I said, Indiana won the national championship game. It was a hell of a game. That was a lot of fun to watch. Indiana's very good. And so let's see if they keep it up, guys. I think we're gonna keep saying that about Indiana. At some point, they're gonna like the shoe's gonna drop, right? Like Indiana's gonna go back to being Indiana. Nah, I don't know. And then of course today is the day that is super of a bowl. It is the big game. Seahawks versus the New England Patriots. Now, this is maybe one of the first Super Bowls like I just kind of don't care about. Like I have no plans to do any kind of party thing. I'm not going to do anything special for it. I'm literally just going to stay sitting here at my house. I'll have it on. And I really don't care about the two teams that are playing, man. I just don't. So at the end of the day, I guess I'll go for Seattle. I'll root for Seattle. Because Jake Peetz is their offensive passing game coordinator, a former Husker long snapper under Bill Callahan. Yeah, so I guess I'll root for the Seahawks. Also, I think I have less hatred for the Seahawks than I do the Patriots. And the Patriots are only there because they got lucky. Because my Texans just, CJ Stroud decided to play like the worst game he's ever played in his life. What a bad game that was. I mean, it was so bad that literally the entire Texans fan base was sitting there after this game going, get rid of CJ. Before, you would have said like that, it would have been insane talk to Texans fans. And after that, we're like, no, can't win with them. Can't win. Nope, CJ's gone. Bye, CJ. Go get a better quarterback somehow, some way, please. Somehow, anyway. We don't care how. Just go find somebody that's not going to play like that ever. So I mean, it was bad. Like what? I think he threw like 5 or 6 interceptions and it was just bad, man. It was just bad. The offensive line for the Texans also needs to get so much better, but that's for a Texans podcast. But yeah, so New England did that and then went to go play a quarterbackless team in Denver. So yeah, that's the only reason why New England's there. They got lucky, like so freaking lucky. So yeah, I guess I'll go for Seattle. So let me know down below, guys. Who are you guys rooting for in today's game? Seattle or the Patriots? Outside of that, please hit the like button, the share button, the subscribe button. I'm hoping here to kind of get back into the groove of things. I know it's the off season, so it's not like it's a huge deal, but definitely want to talk about Husker men's basketball more often. We're starting to get softball and baseball rolling. Softball's already been going. Nebraska beat Texas, the number 1 ranked team, 8-4 or 8-5. And Jody Fromm, let's go. Softball, baby. Let's go win a championship. Somebody's got to win one for one of these teams, right? But anyway, guys, until the next video, go Big Red as always.